So last time we spoke, it was gearing up for the Cleveland Cavaliers game. Obviously, we won that game, so now we're 3-0 against the Cavs. Just one more game to sweep the Cleveland. But kind of reflecting on that game, that was another game where the starters kind of played major minutes and had kind of very little bench support. So that's kind of where my question's going here. That's something that a lot of fans and NBA experts are pointing out, and as a reason for hesitation with the Sixers is not getting a lot from the bench. Yeah. How worried are you guys about the lack of bench production so far?
It's a concern of mine. I think you look at the production. I think a lot of the production comes from the minutes. You have a guy like Shake Milton that was pretty consistent in the lineup. You had some other guys that was pretty consistent in the lineup. And then if you start wavering those minutes or you start dropping those minutes, you can't expect that same production. So I think, yes, I think in the playoffs you want to get a solid 8 and have a 9 is there, because you really don't go much higher than that unless you get into foul trouble or injuries or something like that. But I think building up to that, you just have to find a way to get a rhythm for some of these guys, because you will need someone off the bench in the playoffs and in series. I just think that finding a way, like James played, 42 minutes the last game. I think you got to find a way to kind of pull that down. Let Maxey play some point guard, or let Shake come in and play more minutes. I think you got to kind of pull those minutes down, especially as we go down here to the stretch run. You still want to give them their rhythm and get their shots and get the groove going. But I think James playing 42 minutes to me is a little high.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tejo, what are you thinking from the bench? I know when we were talking the other night, you were talking about how Niang's really the only thing we got coming off the bench right now as far as production wise.
Yeah, so at least in the last 3 games, we're shooting 15 of 50, 30% from the bench. If you take Niang out of the equation, we're shooting 26% in the last 3. It reminds me a lot of the Jimmy Butler team for 2019, actually. Very, very top heavy, very little depth. Our stars are playing like at least 38 minutes a night. I guess this is why they caution against making really big mid-season trades. I mean, we just like that season when we traded for Tobias and Jimmy, we kind of gutted our depth this year to get Harden. So we lost 3 guys who would be, giving quality minutes in the playoffs with Simmons, Curry, and Drummond. And we pretty much got Harden because I think Millsap's going to be out of the rotation for the rest of the season unless someone gets injured. But yeah, I mean, Niang's clearly our 6th man where we insert when Thibauld's not giving us enough offense. I think we're missing one more spark, like, Eric was just alluding to. We need one more guy to go in there and come in. But, maybe this is exactly why a lot of analysts say that it's really hard to win the year you make a huge midseason trade, unless you're taking on a bunch of depth pieces, kind of like what you guys did in your big run, Eric. You guys did the Ratliff Mutombo deal, but I feel like that was more of like you lost the defender and rebounder in Ratliff. You kind of just swapped it and brought in, Mutombo just to do that same exact thing. Whereas we traded so many pieces for like one guy. So, yeah, I don't know. It's going to be tough.
We traded multiple players in that trade. I mean, we lost Tony, Nazi, like Theo, like guys. Nazi wasn't playing as much, but he played little backup center. But Tony was arguably a starter, or the 6th man, and he playing really well for us. So I mean, we lost some pieces too. I just think that when we had when Deke came in, it was he just brought a dimension that, because Theo was injured.
Yeah,
we didn't know when we were going to get Theo back. So that's a little different from that standpoint because we had an injury. But it was a little rough when Deke, if you remember, it was a little rough when Deke first came back. I think we had like a 5-game losing streak at one time. So I get it. And it's tough to make that adjustment. But I firmly believe, if you look at James' history, he has historically been a little tired in the playoffs.
Yep.
So you got to start pulling those minutes down. I mean, I think that because teams are going to make him defend, they're going to trap him. They're going to give him some trouble on the offensive end because they want to kind of wear him down. So I think if that's an issue, we got to find a way to, decrease his minutes now, make him less of a ball handler during the season. I mean, during the run where he can still take shots, but maybe someone else is initiating and he's just catching and shooting. Just something different, I think, in addition to pulling those minutes down. But that's going to come with playing other guys, because I think if you play other guys, then you can change with their expectations. So maybe Shake Milton was just a spot-up shooter, but now he's maybe a spot-up shooter that can extend your defense. Maxey can extend your defense. You have to – guys will have to take upon a little different roles as well. But we'll never know if they're not getting out there and they're not finding a way to make it happen. I know it's tough. You're trying to adjust. So we talked about Tobias and the adjustments that he had to make. And he's a starter and the number 3 option. So he has to make it. So, other guys have to do the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, Green needs to make open jumpers. He needs to at least make 2 threes a game. I think the biggest detriment right now is Furk. I mean, we signed him. We gave him a 2-3 year deal to come in and be at least a 15 and 20 minute guy off the bench. And it looks like the Monstars stole his skills. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on, man. He needs to do some soul searching and find that game before the playoffs. We need that. We need it bad.
I mean, sometimes, Vij's out there. Sometimes no matter if you got a guy that's a shooter, even when they're on the court, the opposing team know personnel. They know the team. So even if you have a guy that's a shooter and he's not making shots, they're still going to defend him as a shooter.
To the fans that are saying they'll give those minutes to Joe, for instance, though, I mean, how long do you give? I know, a shooter's supposed to keep shooting, shoot your way out of a slump. How long do you give a guy like Furk to do that, though, at the detriment of, him being, 10, 12% from 3 over a span of like 5 to 7 games? He clearly just lost confidence, and he just didn't.
I can tell you one thing: he's never going to make a shot if he doesn't play.
That's true.
Yeah. So you got to find a way to kind of get him in there, and based on the way the teams play. If you plan a team that really shrinks the court and they kind of late contest, then maybe you can build him up a little bit, knowing that shot is going to come. Maybe you call a few plays for him after timeouts or something when you kind of force the issue with him, and then get him out, put him in before the end of a quarter. Maybe he can get a shot here and there. Maybe pull him out after the next quarter has begun. So sometimes you can put him in there and give him a chance to play, but really didn't give him a lot of clock time. But even though he had a couple opportunities to kind of see if that shot is going down.
Yeah.
Yeah. If Furk was a big person for us in the playoffs last year, that's probably why we gave him a 2 or 3 year deal. Cause he had he had some good minutes for us in that Atlanta series. I guess my question for as far as bench guys go, it's, we talk about giving the stars a lot, the bulk of the minutes, but we're talking about, Embiid, obviously playing for the MVP, but DeAndre Jordan's only gotten about 11 minutes on average from all the games he's played in so far. Is that something that we kind of need to work him more into rotation, Eric?
I think that his rotation is going to be based on how Joel was playing and based on who you're playing. Have the other team that has a big, but if you have another team that when Joel goes out and they go extremely small, you don't know, you may try it, but you don't really know how that's going to go. So I think his minutes could be a little inconsistent as far as 1 minute it may be 15, the next may be 8. So I think that was a tough call because, it really depends on you can't play him and Joel together. So it's really going to be how much is he playing? How does he have it going? But I do think that, like I mentioned before, you can find ways to get him in there. Maybe before a timeout's coming, before the quarter ends, and try to stretch Joel's breaks and giving Jordan some more minutes that way. But I think you got to try to be a little more strategic with it.